Good Game Pocket Edition, the time-efficient show for gamers by gamers. I'm Hex.
And I'm Barjo. You know what used to be efficient, Hex? Cartridges. You just put them in your machine and they just work. There was no downloading, preloading, updates.
Yeah, but they also got dust in them, remember? And you had to enter those long 24-digit passcodes just to be able to start from where you left off.
That is true. I do remember some particularly long theme park Mega Drive codes that I could never recover because B's looked like 8s and... Anyway, coming up on the show this week, we maximize our bows with Crysis 3.
To the maximum. But first, let's take a look at some of the other games we've been playing this week, starting with Proteus. Proteus is our most recent whimsical adventure of, well, being in a world and not really doing anything.
Proteus brings out a playfulness. There's no real story here other than one you create for yourself by venturing across the mysterious island and encountering weird experiences.
From unexpected seasonal changes to bouncing bunny rabbits and fireflies, it definitely feels like there's some sort of deeper mystery to be unlocked. It's tough to score games like this because we really want to classify this more as digital art, but, you know, the line is so blurry.
I think people will have different experiences with this game, but definitions aside on whether it's a game or not, I certainly didn't feel like I got value for money out of my experience, so I gave it 3 out of 10.
I gave it 4.5. Next up, Persona 4 Golden.
Persona 4 is a JRPG that was originally released for the PlayStation 2. Japanese developer Atlus has jazzed it up for the Vita, adding some extra content for the hardcore fans. It's a contemporary urban Japanese setting, and you play a high school student who bonds together with some friends to solve a supernatural murder mystery.
This RPG has the kind of storyline and characters you'd find in a Japanese anime. It's all a little bit kooky and a teeny bit sexualized, but at its core is combat that's quite traditional and turn-based.
I found it so hard to get through all the dialogue though.
Hey. You dropped this.
And you can only fast forward it, you can't actually skip it as far as I can tell, and that always frustrates me. Get to the action.
Sorry. I went on and on without realizing.
In fairness, Persona 4 Golden is so story-driven that half the game is consuming dialogue between friends, and I think people will play it for that reason.
Yosuke, are you okay? Yeah. What happened?
I'm just not sure I have the patience for this kind of game, Hex.
It's got a bit of a Scooby-Doo-like tale, really, and it is fun.
Oh, that's right.
The dialogue's really funny, so I enjoyed all the quirky little scenes that take place.
Maybe I should ask her for some private lessons.
Private lessons?
Ow! What was that for? I'm just asking you to help me study.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were talking about studying.
Socializing with your friends in this game is central to leveling up the personas, which are beings you summon during combat.
Persona!
Using the personas and learning how to tactically use all the magic is the best thing about this game. I love the challenge here, swapping personas in and out and utilizing all their abilities to win these battles.
You hit its weakness!
I enjoyed this whole game. It's smart and original, and if you love your JRPGs like Final Fantasy or Tactics Ogre, then chances are you'll love Persona 4 as much as I did, so I gave it 8.5.
I wanted to like this more than I did Hex, but I have found a new love for JRPGs of late. I just couldn't get into this though because of all that dialogue. I gave it 7.5. Next up, Big Rigs. Euro Truck Simulator 2 is one in a long line of simulations from SCS Software, who've been cranking out the bus and truck sims since the late 90s. And we just couldn't resist taking this one for a test spin on Spawn Point, could we, Hex?
You know, I keep seeing games like this everywhere. Games that seemingly would be utterly boring. So getting behind the wheel of a big cab and controlling an elite truck force was a bit of an eye-opener, Barjo. I was surprised at how engaging this actually was.
I can appreciate that there's actually a deep game here, but for me personally, it's all a bit too slow, too methodical, and a trucker sim's life is a lonely one and a slightly boring one, so I gave it 5 out of 10.
It's a strange beast, isn't it, the old simulator? It's certainly a change of pace from what I normally do, and I would say it's definitely a niche market, but I have to appreciate that there is a lot of depth to it, and I got weirdly obsessed with getting my cargo, you know, to its destination on time, so I gave it an 8. All right, we should head off to the Ask Good Game desk.
Oh, yes.
Good game.
Okay, well, this week we have this one from the big boss guy who is in Gympie, Queensland.
Hey guys, love the show. Just wondering if you could recommend a game for me. I have played all the Elder Scrolls games, yes, even Arena, which amazed me how much games have advanced in 17 years, and loved it. I want a game like Skyrim, Dragon Age, not Dragon Age 2, tis was crap, and Mass Effect. Plus, could you recommend me some game recording software? Love you guys, the Boss Guy!
Well, the big boss guy, I'm sensing from that list that you like your single-player RPGs quite a bit, and there are a few games that spring to mind in that genre. Firstly, I'd say give the Witcher games a go. They're great RPGs with rich stories, big choices, tough combat, and great worlds to explore. Definitely highly recommended from me.
And let's not forget the Fallout games. If you love the wide open wandering you get from the Elder Scrolls games, then they should be right up your alley. They can be a little buggy, but Fallout 3 and New Vegas have eaten hundreds of blissful hours of my life as I wandered the wastelands, blasting mutants and looking for bobby pins. Oh, and the music. Good times, Hex. Plus there's mods now. You can mod them all up and make them look pretty.
Oh, and I'd say you should give Dragon's Dogma a try. It's got a nice big world to explore, dragons to fight, and a great combat system. The story is kind of rubbish, but I keep finding myself just getting drawn back into that world thanks to its combat and scenery.
Of course, I have to talk about Dark Souls while we're talking about RPGs. It's a game that will utterly destroy you, but also just reward you more than any other game you will ever play. Well, that's my opinion of it too. It's just so good.
Yes, and I do have a hunch that you'd really enjoy Red Dead Redemption as well. It's a Western setting, but there's so much to explore, and it's got a really good story as well.
Yeah, it's a perfect game. In fact, if I remember correctly, I gave it 10 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I believe you did. So those are just some of the more recent games, but there's also loads of classics that are worth a shot if you don't mind some old graphics. In fact, we could sit here all day listing out classics like Baldur's Gate, Deus Ex, System Shock 2, Icewind Dale, Neverwinter Nights, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, the old Fallout games, and that's just a few of the many.
I think any of those will keep you busy for a while. As for game recording software, we've tried about 5 or 6 programs over the years with mixed success. The most stable and reliable we like is a PC capture program called Fraps, but every now and then you get a game that Fraps doesn't like for some reason, and in that case we switched to something like DX Story, which is less user-friendly but has more encoding options and seems to impact your system performance a bit less. They're both much better than pointing a camera at the screen, which we have done on occasion when approaching deadline.
Your other and much more expensive option is to output your computer to another PC running some sort of external capture box, but that's also a bit dicey with HDMI compatibility of certain video cards. If it is primarily PC capture that you need and you're struggling, you're probably better off just investing in a more powerful single computer that can handle the recording load better. Well, that's it for this week, and as always, if you have a question for us, then send it in here. Now, back to the studio.
Good game.
Crysis 3 takes us to a ruined New York. Set after the events of the last game, the organization known as Cell are continuing to toy with the alien technology that brought the predatory beasties to the planet in the first place. But story isn't why we play Crysis, it's about planning out and executing an attack as an overpowered half-man, half-machine juggernaut. And this game embraces the planning stage we love so much from the original Crysis, with more big outdoor areas and tricks up your sleeve. Using your visor, you'll scan the battlefield and mark enemies on your map, and also hack mines and turrets.
Overall, there's more of a focus on stealth now, and you can see missions designed with bits of cover strategically placed so that you can pick your way around the map unseen. And stealth kills avoid reinforcements from being called in.
I remember in the last game really enjoying all the stealth stuff, especially with the humans, but here it felt a little bit dated to me. And ever since Hitman Absolution, I just want a bit more out of stealth now. It's not bad, it's just not great. The bow is a great addition, and you can also pick up the odd alien weapon. There's different ammo types for the bow and most guns. In fact, all the weapon customization is great. You'll switch up on the fly, and it becomes more important to do so on the harder difficulties. All the customization menus are quick and intuitive.
Oh, good menus, Barjo.
Good menus.
So much power, but volatile and willful.
There's a few issues with this game, I think. It also doesn't feel different enough to 2. It feels more like an expansion, really, and maybe that comes down to the less than 2 years development time. But the biggest issue is the game's length. We finished it in 6.5 hours, and that's almost half what the last Crysis game was. And I thought I could bank on Crysis, holding the line in a time where most FPSs are 5-hour campaigns or 6. And I remember the moment clearly, Hex. I was playing a level that suddenly got very, very difficult, and I thought, no, not Crysis. And I could sense that the end was coming, and then bam, credits. We are sounding a bit harsh here, and I think that may be partly because we're playing this on console, and we're used to playing this on PC, and Crysis is known for pushing those PC visuals, so it does feel like a little bit of a step back. It is still a very good looking game on console though, especially in the smaller enclosed areas, and when the enemies get up close they're nice and shiny. We did have a chance to play it on PC for the multiplayer beta though, and that was fantastic. For a start, you can stay connected online for more than 5 minutes, which was something that we could never really get to happen with 2. And fighting other super soldiers is so much fun.
You are now a hunter.
I especially liked the new Hunter mode, where Marines are slowly wiped out by other players using a bow in permanent stealth. It really plays with your fears, and you'll find yourself twitching and checking behind yourself every few seconds.
Final thoughts, Hex?
Well, I think if you never played Crysis 2, then you will really enjoy this, but fans of this series, they might be left wanting, so I'm giving this maximum 7.
I'm giving it maximum 7.5.
Good game.
Well, that's it for another edition of Good Game Pocket Edition. I hope you got your speedy gaming fix for the week. And don't forget, you can always watch Good Game full episodes on Tuesday nights at 8:30 p.m. on ABC2.
Yes, on Tuesday we're going to be playing the brand new Tomb Raider. Yes!
It's looking Uncharted-y, which is interesting because Uncharted took inspiration from Tomb Raider and now it's kind of going the other way around. It's all cyclic.
Yes. The world of gaming is one big Ouroboros badge.
I don't know what you just said, but see you next week. Badger out.
Hex out. It's a snake eating its tail. It's like a circle
Ouroboros.
that's just endless.
Sounds like something from Mass Effect.
There was a great Red Dwarf sketch. Do you remember that?
Ouroboros.
Or Rob,
Yes.
or Ross.
Yes.